Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Tara and I'm a mom of 2 boys, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I make Montessori and motherhood videos here on my channel. Today's video is going to be all about Montessori toy rotation. I'm going to go over everything you need to know about Montessori toy rotation and answering all the questions that you guys have, or maybe some questions that you didn't have. The idea behind toy rotation is that you do not have all of your toys out and available all at one time. You have a few key toys out and the other toys are stored away to be rotated in at a different time. In this video, I'm going to be focusing on the rotation as it pertains to a Montessori shelf. So if you want to learn more about Montessori shelves, check out my last video about how to set up a Montessori shelf. I'll be sure to link that video in the description box below as well. So some people rotate toys weekly, some monthly, and others seasonally. And while there is no right or wrong way to rotate toys, it's really going to depend on you and your child. And I put you in there and not just your child, because as the parent, this job is ours to do the rotation. So while we want to follow our child and observe them and determine what their needs are for this rotation, ultimately, as parents, you are the one doing the rotation, so you're going to need to find that balance that works for you. If you're new to toy rotation, you might be asking, okay, but why are we rotating toys? You may be thinking, Tara, this sounds like a lot of extra work. But before you click away, hear me out about the benefits. Children love new toys, and I really can't think of anything more that my 4-year-old loves than a new toy. When you rotate toys, it gives that feeling of a new toy. My 4-year-old actually gets really excited on toy rotation days. Toy rotations could be something fun for your child. If they're getting bored of something, they now get something new. For the parent, yes, you are putting a bit more effort than if you just had all the toys out and available to them. However, you also get to free up some space from not housing all of these toys all at once, and less toys equals less cleanup. And for me, that reason in itself is enough. So in my video, How to Start Montessori in Your Home for Free, I reference an article from Psychology Today that talked about how toddlers that were given less toys had a greater quality of play and played in more advanced ways versus children that were given more toys. Too many options can be overwhelming, and even as adults. So it makes sense that less options and less toys out would create a calmer space for your children to play. And did I mention less cleanup? Okay, so we understand the benefits, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What do you need to facilitate a toy rotation? First, you're going to need a place to store all the toys that aren't being used. We have a toy closet that I was able to have built in our house with shelves that hold toys, but an entire closet like that is not necessary. If you have room in your bedroom closet or maybe a hallway closet, or you can create bins to put under your bed, really whatever works for you, whatever way you're able to find to store away these toys is perfect. How many toys should you have out? So this question, I don't know why I get asked this question so often, and it's kind of a tricky one because there is no right or wrong number. It's really going to differ per child and probably change with age and really just how many children you have that are sharing these toys. I think I mentioned this in one of my last videos that the number I see most often in Montessori circles is between 9 to 12 toys for toddlers. However, I've seen many Montessori environments that have more than 12, but most of the times for like tiny babies under 9 months or so, I usually see that around 3 is enough. Again, there's no right or wrong answer here. Do what works best for you in your house, in your space. The next question is what age to start. And yes, I said tiny babies, so does that mean we need to start as infants? Sort of. There isn't really an age to start. Really, as soon as your child begins to engage with the world around them, you can start offering them different toys or items from around the house. It doesn't have to be a toy. Spatulas seem to be the favorite among my kids when they were babies. Start whenever. If your child is 5 and you're just now starting a toy rotation, that's fine. If you have a 3-month-old and you're thinking about starting it, that's fine too. The next question is how to know when and what to rotate. And this is another thing that's going to be up to you and your child. Observing your child is going to be key to know what they're playing with and what they're passing over. As a general rule, I leave out anything that's currently being played with often. In our house, that usually looks like open-ended items like Legos or blocks. And while I may rotate those open-ended items for like Magna-Tiles or bristle blocks to put in the mix, in general, my kids always have something to build with, and something like Legos and blocks are rarely getting rotated out. However, other items might get rotated out every week or every other week. My 4-year-old especially loves rotation days, so I realize when it's been too long and he's mastered everything on his shelf, he can tend to get really bored and he'll only be playing with cars or Legos, and that's when I know it's time for rotation for him. My younger son, who's almost 2, he doesn't seem to get bored as quickly, so I might rotate 1 or 2 things out, but I rarely do a full rotation of his things. At least when it goes to weekly, it's really on an as-needed basis. What I tend to do is every Friday I sort of reassess our playroom, and I might be changing out 1 or 2 things here and there, but as far as doing a full rotation, like taking everything out, putting everything back in, that really only happens in our house like maybe 1 to 2 months. And again, this is what works for us, so you've got to find out what works for you. Here are some categories that you typically might find on a Montessori shelf. This is going to differ by age, and obviously babies aren't going to need things like math materials, but I know for me it's nice to see some categories and some options so I can better determine what kinds of toys and activities to include on my shelf. So the kinds of toys you're going to put out is really going to depend on your child. I keep saying this because it is true. You want to be sure that you're observing your child to get a better understanding on what concepts they are mastering at that moment. So depending on their age, you may find some of the following categories helpful. And these categories, like I said, are usually ones that you'll find in a toddler or primary classroom. So those are practical life, sensorial, language, math, cultural, hand-eye coordination, and music and movement. Oh, and arts and crafts as well. And then I also add in open-ended items because I like to have those in our home environment, but that isn't necessarily something that you're going to find in a Montessori classroom. So you can have all of these categories or just a few, whatever works for your child and your space. For me, I don't typically include like arts and crafts or practical life on my shelf because those are things that are done more organically in our house. If the boys want to draw or paint, we have an art station set up in the playroom, or I'll set something up specifically on the table for them if it's a specific kind of craft like Play-Doh. And for practical life, we do that as it comes up in our house. Because both of my boys go to a Montessori school part-time, they have practical life shelves set up at their school where they can practice pouring and transferring. So it's something that I've decided to leave off of our shelves because they're going to get that experience pouring in real life, and whether they're pouring like milk into their cereals or things like that. So I found that that works better for our house. One thing I try to do is keep a general place for the toys so my kids don't get confused. So for example, there are items that typically always stay in the same spot. Occasionally I'll change it up if I see a better location, but things like musical instruments and their open-ended items have a shelf that doesn't change. Also, when I do switch out the shelves, I tend to try to keep them in the same categories. So if I'm taking out a math item, I try to replace that with another math item just to keep some sort of consistency and organization there. And if you have sensory bins or an art station in your space, these can get rotated too. Even something like artwork on the wall or books on the bookshelf are a great thing to rotate. That is everything that I have for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and that it gave you some helpful tips on how to do a toy rotation in your house. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment box below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And don't forget to subscribe if you aren't subscribed already because I make new videos just like this every week. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!